Hello.
Hey, it's Sammy.
Yes, how are you, Matt?
Yeah, doing great. Inmate number is 385960, calling in from the DC Gulag. We just received into our presence one Shane Jenkins to abhorrent congratulations and applause. He got 7 years for his sentence, and that is what passes for very good news in this place. Not I mean, obviously he was looking at much more than that, and it was, I believe, below half of what the prosecution was asking for. So still considered a huge win in his part. Yeah. We're all really happy for him because he has about 3 years in already. So he's about halfway through that sentence anyway. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the guideline recommendations, and they were asking like the minimum, like 17 and a half years. It's so heartbreaking to see things like that. And then it is something to celebrate that he only got 7 years, but it's so sad also to say he only got 7 years. It's so sad. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it is, a glimmer of hopium, as some like to say, that we haven't gotten, and it is, a better sign than we have seen in the past from some of these judges.
Yeah. Well, I hear his elocution went fairly well. He was taking the task for neglecting suspension something, but overall, I hear that he made quite an impression, and I thought he would. He's got a very compelling personal story. But I'm glad that counted for something in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody has a personal story. Everybody, of course.
Satan! Hey, racist bitch, how'd that BLM thing go? You guys tried to lie and say you didn't go.
So
We
there's
totally
these
had you on camera, idiot. Satan!
Is that the Pelican?
I'm at an event. I can be there.
Is that the Pelican?
Yeah.
Just another night in DC, huh?
Yeah, just another wonderful night in DC.
Hopefully a congressman will walk by, and then the cops will be forced to take it seriously.
Oh, well, I mean, actually, the police officers that are out here every night are pretty good, and they're very kind to us. They don't ever, we don't give them any reason to give us grief, so, but,
Right.
And there's only so much they can do about mosquitoes.
Yeah. Well, going back to our topic, I think it's sad on the one hand, but it's kind of good news, and it's hard to parse the data because there are so many different ways you can look at it. But you were saying that everyone has a story.
Everyone has a personal story, I think, and everybody has a backstory and what brought them to January 6th, and I think those stories are really important. And I think that in the beginning, when these trials were first starting to happen, those stories weren't really taken into consideration at all, and I think somewhat they are being considered now, and so I feel like that is a sign of the tides turning in our direction. And some of that softening of hearts and minds like we've been praying for so long.
Yeah. Oh man, prayed so hard today for some softening of the hearts and minds.
Hi, Debbie.
Because it like you say, it is a very personal experience, and I was complaining yesterday that it's really hard to be seen as a human being in this process. And individual details and circumstances usually aren't taken into account in the manner that they should be. And the way that they're trying to enforce these sort of sentencing guidelines when they're not usually invoked by the prosecution, that's an interesting turn of events, because normally the judge will just sit and he'll say a year, 2 years, whatever, and he doesn't need to look at the sentencing guidelines because they're just that. They're guidelines. They're not hard and fast rules like you can't go more than this or you can't go less than this. I mean, the judge has enormous latitude. But I think the prosecution has been kind of annoyed that some people were getting off as lightly as they were.
There's
so they were
definitely
pushing
been backlash from the government side to the judges about deviating lower than the guidelines. But then you look at these guidelines, and I'm sorry, but I don't see that there's any possible way that Shane Jenkins should do 17 and a half years for any behavior on January 6th that he did. He didn't kill anybody. And I know, there's rapists and murderers out there that do half that time. But you can't tell me.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And so you think about these guidelines, and then the prosecutors complaining that these guys didn't get enough time. They're appealing some of these sentencings because they don't feel as though they got enough time for these people, when the least amount of time is like 5 years. But that's not enough. We want 10, or we got 18, but I wanted 25. So it doesn't.
Right.
That's not justice.
Yeah, and what it's doing is it's building up this legacy, this raft of precedent that the government will then be able to invoke next time there's a protest in
Or the
D.C.
next time somebody doesn't agree with what the government has to say. You don't even have to be at a protest. You could just disagree.
Right. In other words, the next time a citizen becomes inconvenient for the government, they can just start invoking those types of rules and laws. And like the Chinese expression goes, kill the chicken to scare the monkeys. Right? You make an example out of this group of protesters here in January 6th. I guarantee you there's not going to be too many protests in D.C. in the future after what's happened here. At least not by conservatives. That's the other aspect of this, is that liberals, ever unaccountable as they are capable of doing extremely repugnant, horrible, and violent acts, and they can just get away with it. You look at the congressman, what was his name, Bowman, who pulled the fire alarm in Congress to interfere with an official proceeding.
Right.
And he has the lamest excuses in the world. And because the laws don't really apply to him.
Well, he's a Democrat, so the rules are not going to apply the same to him as they do to us, because we are extremists and we are terrorists because of our ideology and our political views.
Plus, I need to be deprogrammed.
And that kind of difference in treatment isn't just it's unfair. This is a trademark of police states.
Yes.
They don't tolerate dissenting views. There's the orthodox view that is put out by the state, and then everything else is heterodox and must be suppressed.
Yeah.
So you're literally not allowed to have a different idea, and that's part of what's going on here. I think the other part is that it's not just a two-tier justice system in terms of the defendants. It's also a two-tier justice system in terms of who is the alleged victim. If you get Congressman Clare is carjacked, and suddenly, we hold all these emergency meetings about crime in D.C. Crime is widely known to be a big problem in D.C. It's what makes it the worst city to live in. That's not a secret, but the city council has been claiming that there is no crime problem, but then the wrong person gets carjacked, and well, it matters to him. Like, you can protest in front of you can protest in front of the White House because you're protesting Donald Trump. He's one of the outsiders. He's not part of the in-group, the establishment in-group. That's fine if you hurt 40, 50 Secret Service agents and, destroy property in and around the White House. That's absolutely fine because you're protesting Donald Trump. Now, if you protest in the Capitol where the important people are, where the establishment are, well, then that's the crime. That's the real crime. And the whole idea of law is to make sure that these rules are being applied evenly and without bias. And that's the function of law. That's why we write them down. And we see that there's been a lot of selective enforcement, selective interpretation, totally jettisoning originalism in terms of interpreting the law in the D.C. Federal Circuit. And it's sheer chaos. Everyone sees it, no one is comfortable with it because it's clearly police state in its nature, and it's biased, and it's frightening because who's next after us?
The next people that disagree with the government in any type of way will be arrested and persecuted and prosecuted for their thoughts, just as the precedent has been set now with the J6ers. Even if they don't actually do anything, they could just talk about their thoughts on Facebook or Twitter or whatever social media they use, and then they too could find themselves in some gulag somewhere in America, some shitty jail, being privately run, and extorting American citizens for their thoughts.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people suffering needlessly in our jail systems already. And we need really to take a hard look at, we talk about sentencing guidelines. I don't think putting like a young father in jail for 3 years because he was caught with drugs is necessarily are so right with the very drugs he was put in there for using.
Right.
So we really need to take a hard look at that, and we need to address that in a common sense way. I think we over prosecute, and I think we over is doing what Democrats do, which is basically taking the worst elements of society and almost as like some kind of loyalty test to set them free among the people. As if by this extreme action, you prove how far you're willing to go in the name of the party's own rhetoric, because the party is always...
You have 1 minute remaining.
The Democratic Party is always, trying to advocate for the downtrodden, the criminal, and whatnot. And I think they go overboard in those instances. That's a very generous interpretation of what they're doing. The less generous interpretation is, of course, deliberate sabotage.
Yep, you are absolutely right about that. Well, we're about to get cut off. That was our little warning, and we had Greta getting us, so we'll let that happen.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much for this
Thank you, guys.
conversation.
Right.
On Friend Friday. And we will hear you at the anthem, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Yes, we're going to try.
Yeah, okay. All right. Take it easy, guys. God bless you.
God bless you, Patriot.